For those of you who don't know me, my name is Blake Patchin. My father is the senior pastor here, and I've been attending this church since I was born. He was pastor before I was born, so I've been here my entire life. And so since tonight's On the Night, Josh asked me to give a message, so that's what I'm here to do. I'm very nervous. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me. So I accepted Christ when I was 4 years old, and I think it was real and it was personal. But until middle school, I didn't grow. It was all pattern, right? Go to church every Sunday, go to whatever event they had, set up chairs. And then in middle school, started having more mature conversations and started to make it a more personal faith and relationship with God. And then I think I was tested again in growing when I went to high school. I made the decision to go to public school from being homeschooled through the end of elementary school and then through middle school. And I had one condition, and that was to reach one person for Christ. And so when I went, I was prepared, I think, and I wasn't surprised when there was a bunch of sin in the world, right? You see it, you see how people act and everything. But what surprised me was how people claimed to be Christians and then acted completely different. I was surprised. I was caught off guard because I was used to seeing people in church and everything, and people seemed genuine, but then going out into the world, people claiming to be Christians and claiming to have a certain set of values, and then you can't tell from how they act that they actually have them. And so I want to take a quick look at 1 Timothy 4:12, our theme verse, and it says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." Notice I put the emphasis on the faith. That's what we're going to be looking at tonight, specifically faith in action. And the verses we're going to start to look at is James 2:14 through 26. So if that could get put up there if you want to follow along. I forgot. Okay, there we go. "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, 'You have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds.' And I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there is one God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder." "You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, 'Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend.' You see that a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. In the same way, was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction? As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead." So that leads into my first point for tonight, which is head versus heart. Head versus heart. And if we look at James 2:19, it says, "You believe that there is one God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder." I don't know about you, but I find this kind of humorous. It's kind of like rubbing it into their face. "Oh, you believe in Jesus. Good. Demons believe that. They're not so great, are they?" And so what does this mean? And I think to better understand it, we should look at what the definition of faith is. So the definition of faith is complete trust in or confidence in someone or something. So knowledge is not the same thing as faith. Just because you know about Jesus or even believe that he existed, it doesn't mean that you have faith in him, that you put your faith in him. You have to put your whole heart, all you believe in Jesus. So I've been driving for about a year now, and I love driving. I love getting behind the wheel, having the freedom, not having to worry about parents having to drive you everywhere. And it's really awesome. But now, due to that, whenever I get in the car with someone else driving, I get really anxious. Like, I'll sweat sometimes. And like, I might know that they're a good driver, right? But since I'm not in control, I just have a worry that, oh no, they're not as good as I am at driving. They're going to not stop in time and hit a car, or I'm going to die or something, right? Hopefully not. That's worst case scenario. But I get very nervous. And the same thing happens with God. We want to be in control of driving our own lives. But we need to put faith in God, put all of our confidence and trust in God, and let him be the driver. Let him take the wheel and guide our life. It's easy to know that he might be what's best for you, right? It's easy to know that he's all-knowing and all-powerful, but it's hard to actually give him the wheel, right? To actually give it up. And I think the two things that get in the way of it are pride, and get in the way of us giving up the wheel, are pride and control. Pride because we think, oh, aren't we? Don't I know what's best for myself? Can't I drive my own life, right? It's my life. I should know what's best for it. But no, we need to give it up to God. He knows what's ultimately best for us, and it's only through him that we will be successfully spiritually, and we'll get true nourishment from. So what sets us apart from the demon? That's this. We need to put our faith in God. The demons don't put faith in God. That's why they got kicked out of heaven, right? They wanted to be in control. They wanted to be like God and better than God, and then they got cast down. Demons, right? That's what makes demons and angels different. So it's not just knowledge that we need to have. It's faith. It's full giving up the wheel to God. And it's important to recognize where we are in our faith. Like, how can you tell where we are in the faith? How do you know it's not just knowledge and it's actually faith? How do you know that it's real and genuine? Which brings us to my next point. All bark, no bite. If we take a look at James 2:26, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. So, what does this mean? This means that your spirit is dead without works. You need to have works as a sign that your faith is active, that you have a healthy faith. And so how could you tell the extent of the health of one's faith without deeds? You can't. How? It's not faith, right? Because it's not faith alone you'll be judged by when you get to heaven. It's the works, right? But you need faith, but deeds are necessary sign of faith. So the Bible also says it's not a faith alone that you'll be judged. It's with faith that you'll be judged. And if you look at Matthew 17:20, did I put that up there? No, I did not. Let me find that real quick. He replied, "Because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to here,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." So this is saying that if you even have the tiniest bit of faith, then you will see results. You'll see mountains move. Probably not real mountains move. If you can move mountains, that'd be pretty impressive. But you will see fruit from your labor. Your actions will have results. And if we take a look at Mark 10:52, Jesus says, "Go, your faith has healed you." Immediately he received sight and followed Jesus along the road. This is referring to the story of blind Bartimaeus and how he receives his sight. And I think it's important that we understand that it's faith that he's healed. But what does he do immediately after that? He gets up and follows Jesus. He acts on his faith. If he were to just be healed and then do nothing, that wouldn't make sense, right? He has the faith to be healed, and then he gets up and follows. He continues to pursue Jesus and walk in his steps. So how do you apply this? How do you show your actions, right? We have to act on our faith. We need to step outside of our comfort zone and give God the wheel. We need to let him take over and be in control of our life. And a good example of this is our series we just did, the Grow series that Josh did. What did the R stand for, right? Reach one person for Christ. And so that's a great example of how you could show your faith. It's an action step for your faith. You're evangelizing and you're reaching one person, and that's something directly that God tells you to do. And through faith, you're doing that. And faith that God will be with you and that you could reach this one person. So, are you all bark, no bite, right? Are you all words, no action? If God were to look at you right now, would he be able to, not God, because he would know, but if someone else were to look at your life, not at church, at home, in your room with your friends that aren't Christians, would they be able to tell that you're a Christian? Would they be able to tell your values based on how you act? But actions are incredibly important, but they're not what saves you, right? So that brings us to our next point, saved by grace. If we look at Ephesians 2:8-9, it says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." So I'm going to give a short example of a working story. So about 4 years ago, before then I'd done a bunch of yard work and stuff for my own family and everything, but it's a little bit different. 4 years ago, I worked for Masaki. He's a guy here at the church. And that was my first time really working for someone else, doing labor for someone else. And I remember putting in a few hours of work and then getting a paycheck. And I remember being super happy, right? Oh, I just got money. This is mine. I could go buy PS4 now. That's what I was doing 4 years ago. Saving up for PS4. And so I was super happy. There's a ton of pride that came along with that. But that's not what being saved is, right? It's his grace. And what is grace? Grace is the free and unmerited favor of God, right? So despite works being super important to our faith, it's not what saves us. It's our faith alone that saves us. And this sets us apart from all other religions around the world. All other religions have a work-based system. You have to work into heaven. Through what you do, you can achieve heaven, or like some believe that you will become God, right? But this is completely different from what we believe, and this is what makes our beliefs so special as Christians. And it's important, and why I think it's so much better is because we can't work into heaven, and we can't work out of heaven. We are saved, and then we stay saved. We can't fall out of heaven no matter what we do, no matter what mistakes we make. It's not going to keep us from God. But this isn't an excuse for sinning or not working. You shouldn't go back into sinning just because, he'll forgive me. Jesus will forgive me for what I do. It's true, but you're not supposed to do that, right? You should be working to be faithful to God. You need to have confidence and trust in him, and once you have trust and faith in God, you shouldn't be making these sinful mistakes. You should be loving and gracious. So, God's unmerited love is the only thing that saves us. And we can't take pride in our actions. Since it's our actions don't save us, it's only God's love and grace that save us. So we can't take pride in what we do. Everything that we do goes back to God. Whether that's our abilities, our talents, we shouldn't take pride in that, but we should give our pride and our accomplishments to God. We should use them to glorify God. So how would you apply this, right? One way is you have to be considerate of others, right? You have to you got to pay attention to how others are doing. You're showing grace as God showed grace to you. And you could also do that by showing unconditional love to others, no matter who that is, right? Whether you hate them, whether they're your enemies, whether you dislike them, right? You need to show them love. That's a way to show faith and grace. Grace is it's an action of faith. And so if you're not seeing grace or any actions or any results from your faith, is your faith alive or dead? Right? If you're not seeing the mountains move metaphorically, is your faith alive or dead? And I think it's important to recognize and evaluate whether your faith is alive or dead based on what you see happening around you. Are you seeing people change around you? Do people recognize it in you? Are you seeing results in what you're attempting? Because if not, you have to ask yourself, do you really have faith in God? So, an example of an alive person, like a person with alive faith, is they go to church, they go to youth group, right? But then they also go home. They do devotions, they reach people, they have integrity when they go out into the world, they have integrity when they're by themselves, right? But a person that has dead faith, they'll go to church, they might go to Tuesdays, right? But they will not have that integrity, right? They will go back into the world, they'll be with their friends, and they'll just fall into the world. They'll fall into what their friends are doing. They'll go home, they'll be in their room, they'll do stuff that they're not supposed to, right? So that's the difference between an alive faith and a dead faith. So my challenge to you guys is, are you placing your faith in God? Are you exercising that faith, more importantly? Because I know many of you are Christians, but are you exercising that faith? Are you seeing the results of your faith? And if you're not a believer, then we have some great leaders here, and I would encourage you afterwards to go talk to them. They would be more than happy to discuss with you if you have any questions or anything, and if you want to make that step into accepting salvation from God. And it's a really great opportunity. So I'm going to close here and ask a question. Is your faith in action? All right, so if you'll bow your heads, I'm going to lead us in prayer. Lord, I want to thank you for this awesome opportunity we have to be here, and I want to thank you for sending your Son and giving us your salvation. I pray that we will go out in this world and that we will put our faith in action, that we will be examples and a light in the world, and that we will be gracious and show the love that you showed us. And in Jesus' name, amen.